My parents left me a house full of everything that they ever owned. Every drawer, every closet, the attic, the garage. It took me 8 months to sort through it all. And I cried more times than I can count. And I promised myself that I would not do that to my children. So I started downsizing at 50, not because I have to, but because I love my kids too much to leave that burden to them. Those are not my words. It's a letter that we got this last week. And it's actually one of two letters. The second letter tells the same exact story, and we cover both ends of this spectrum. So if you're 50 plus, listen up. And the second letter, it's from Margaret, and I'm going to read it right here. Weldon, I'm divorced about 10 years, two kids in their late 20s, both out of state. I'm in a four-bedroom house that hasn't felt like mine for years. And I've decided I'm downsizing before my kids ever have to do it for me. I watched my mom go through it after my grandfather passed. 8 months of cleaning out a farmhouse. She cried every weekend, and I'm not doing that to my kids. I've already started. Some sold some jewelry, listed some furniture. My kids said that they don't want most of it. I want to be in something smaller within the year, and I want them to inherit a clean slate, not a chore list. Am I doing this right? Of course, you're doing it right. You're being proactive. You're thinking about it. That is a huge part of this, right? Just recognizing the legacy and the situation that you want to leave behind. And so I read both of these letters twice. And here's what I want you to hear as you're watching this video, because it's the same thing I've been listening to in conversations like this for the better part of for years. Margaret told me what she wants for her kids when she's gone. She did not tell me what she wants for herself in the next 30 years. And that's just as important. That's not a small thing that she left out. That is the thing. Look, leaving your kids a clean slate, that is a real, it is a good, generous outcome. It's just one outcome, though. Margaret is doing what most people do when they start downsizing. You start by defining what success looks like and trying to avoid something for someone else instead of what she's trying to build for herself. So she's got a plan to leave a clean slate and zero plan for what her actual own life looks like on the other side of that closing. That's the gap that we want to close. Margaret has not defined success, what that means to her. So every decision that she makes from here, the jewelry that she sells, the furniture she lists, the house that she picks next, she's making it half blind, solving for kids, not solving for her life. You've worked too hard to not keep that in mind. So here's what we're going to do together today. I'm going to walk you through 7 outcomes that downsizing at 50 plus should actually deliver. Not just the clean slate, but the whole picture. Because if you only solve for what you're leaving behind, you'll leave behind exactly that and miss the rest, which is, I'm going to argue, more important. So let's get into it. And this is point one, and it's a life designed looking forward, not just past, liquidated in this case, right? So selling your stuff. And this goes back to the first question. And it's the question that neither one of them answered. So before you sell another thing, in this case, before you list that furniture, I want you to write down one sentence at the top of a piece of paper. When this is done, meaning the downsizing, my life looks like this. Not my kids inherit a clean slate. That's the outcome. I'm asking about the life question. Where do you live? What do you do on a Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock in the morning? Are you near grandkids? Are you near a beach? Are you near a community of people that are your age doing the things that you like to do? Because that answer, that sentence, that's going to drive everything else. So I've watched clients move multiple times within a 5-year period, and it's because they didn't have that sentence written down. So they went from their complex situation immediately to an apartment. But that apartment left a void, and it was a void of loneliness, right? They didn't have that sentence that they were actually trying to accomplish. And so then they moved again, and they ended up going into a senior living community. Yes, they solved that first problem of reducing complexities of the house that they had with that initial move, but they didn't end up in a happier place, the place that they actually wanted to be in. So that is why I say we start with that life goal and then we design around that. So the decision tool that we use, it starts with that sentence on purpose because everything downstream from that gets clearer once you've got that written down. Now, downsizing, it can be and feel overwhelming. If you need help thinking through some of the problems, some of the challenges with that, and I'm talking about estate planning, I'm talking about uh, just the project plans that you might need to help set yourself up for success, actually get all that written down. Book time on my calendar. I walk through people through this process every single day. And it ends up helping because it gives them clarity, it gives them a checklist in order to figure out how to move forward. Okay, here's point number 2. And this is the wealth optimization whenever you're getting rid of assets. So here's what I see all the time. Somebody starts to downsize and they take a load of jewelry to a gold buyer and they walk out with $1,000 in their pocket and then they feel great. And maybe they should. $1,000 is $1,000. But nobody told them that their grandmother's ring that might have been worth 4 times as much if they sold it at an auction. Nobody told them that selling a piece of art that they bought 30 years ago could trigger a capital gains hit that they didn't see coming, that they didn't plan for. Nobody told them that gifting that same piece of art to a kid in a different state, that might have different tax consequences rather than selling it. Downsizing isn't just disposal, getting rid of your stuff without a plan. It's a wealth event. And if you don't have a certified financial planner and a good CPA in the room, or at least having these conversations before you start liquidating your stuff, you're leaving money on the table. Money that you could have used to fund your own life and the other side of those goals that you're trying to accomplish. The very life that we just talked about in point 1. This is what I mean by solving the clean slate problem. That's not enough. The clean slate that Margaret talked about that she wants for her kids, that has a price tag. And the price tag, it gets bigger the more you do this alone. And here's point 3. So an estate plan that catches up with your new reality. The thing that nobody tells you about downsizing is that it's the best estate planning catalyst that you can have on earth. You are touching every asset that you own. You are deciding who gets what gets sold, what gets given in this case. You're already doing the thinking. So why not do the documents at the same time? If your will was last updated when your kids were in elementary school, that document is older than your last couple of cars, most likely. And if you've moved states since you signed it, parts of it may not even apply anymore. Beneficiary designations on retirement accounts. When's the last time you looked at that? A durable power of attorney. Do you even have one? A healthcare directive. The part that most people miss is when you downsize, you're actually acknowledging that your life is going to keep changing. Your estate documents should reflect that life, not the life that you had at 40. Things have changed. Most people delay this for a decade because they think it'll take forever and cost a fortune. That's not the case. If you've got the right estate attorney, if you have the right team around you, and if you don't have one, that's a phone call that I can help with. All right, here's point 4. The real estate has to fit the next 30 years, not just be smaller. This is where I see the most expensive mistakes happen. Someone in their late 50s sells their 4-bedroom home and they buy that charming 2-bedroom townhome with 20 steps to the front door. That has a basement laundry, a master bath that nobody's going to be able to navigate with a walker in 20 years. They solved for smaller. They didn't solve for 30 years and how our physical bodies are going to change. You want independence. I get it. So set that up for success. If you're solving for smaller instead of solving for what fits the next 30 years, you are missing the same thing that Margaret is missing. You haven't defined what success looks like. Smaller is a feature, not an outcome that you are actually looking for. The questions I ask clients during downsizing, and especially at 50 plus, look, it's single floor living, walkability, proximity to healthcare, maintenance burden, stair count, doorway widths, bathroom layouts, neighborhood demographics. Are you going to be the only person under 70 or the only person over 50? Are you near family or are you on the way to a destination retirement spot that you've never spent a winter in? Purposeful decisions. That's what we're looking for. Real estate is the back end of this whole conversation. It's where the math lives, but you can't run the math until you know what the life looks like. We want a holistic approach. And this is point five. This is the real conversation with your kids. So Margaret wrote in that her kids said that they don't want most of her stuff. That's hard to hear, but it's pretty typical these days. 95% of the time, that's what kids say. But that is the surface conversation. The deeper conversation is the one that almost nobody has. It sounds a little bit like this, and this is you talking to your kids. Where do you hope I live for the next 20 years? How involved do you want to be in my care if I need it? Do you want me to be near you? Do you want me to be independent and visited, meaning in an independent living home? What do you hope that I do with my retirement? Spend it, give it, leave it? Like, it's actually none of their business, but if it's weighing on you, then it's worth the conversation. I'm not saying your kids, again, get a vote on your life. They don't. But their answers, they change how you decide. It's a factor to consider potentially, depending on your relationship. And the conversation itself, I've watched it heal a lot of things that years of holiday dinners couldn't touch because it's a different environment and you're having this conversation that you actually get meaning out of on both sides. This is the part that Margaret skipped. She asked her kids what stuff they wanted. She didn't ask them what life they wanted from her, and there's a big difference. If that's the role that you want to play, if you want to be with your kids and the grandkids, like, what does that look like? How do you get on board their train that they have going? Because think back to whenever you had your kids, you were going down a track and you didn't have time for everything else. And so if you want to have family part of your life, my suggestion is to get on board that train. And it's always a two-way street. But if you're able to give a little bit, then I think you'll see that in return over time. Not guaranteed, certainly, but it gives you a chance. Okay, tough conversations without a doubt. If you need more pointers, book time on the calendar. I'm happy to talk you through it. This is point number 6. The right team around you before you sell another thing. So you don't need a big team. You need the right team. And that's the rule. So a certified financial planner who can model what this transition does to your retirement and the runway that you have, how many years that you think that you're going to continue to live on and what you need to plan for. An estate attorney who can update the documents while you're already in the spirit of touching everything. You have motivation right now. A CPA who can flag tax implications before you sell, not after, because we want to do purposeful planning, right? And then a real estate professional who's worked with downsizers and understands that this isn't just a transaction. This is a life transition, and we need to plan it wholly. That real estate strategy needs to complement the other pieces, the life and wealth strategy. Here's what I do, and here's what I don't do. I do not manage all of these professionals for you. You are the quarterback of your life, and nobody else is. What I do is help you see the entire field and connect you with people who have done this work for hundreds of other families before yours. And I give you the right questions to ask each of these professionals. And we come up with that plan for how to all these dots connect in your life. So that way it's methodical and thought out, and the ripple effect is planned for, and you have and walk away with how to handle each of the situations that are going on in your life. You can absolutely find these professionals on your own. And most people, they don't, though. Most people just stay stuck. Most people white knuckle this and they save $5,000 but lose $50,000 because nobody told them what to look for and how to interview them. And so when they go to execute, they do things out of order. And that's a problem. That's why my profession exists. Now, here's point 7. It's a self-worth update that outlasts the stuff. Now, this one is hard, and it's a very important one. Most people don't have a hard time getting rid of the things that they don't use. They have a hard time getting rid of the things that represent something. So the kayak that you bought when you imagined that you'd be on a river every weekend years ago, the dining table that hosted Thanksgiving for the family that, quite frankly, doesn't gather anymore. Like, you end up going to your kid's house or other people's homes. The good china, the wedding crystal, the instruments that somebody played in high school, the work uniform from the career that you retired from. The stuff is just that. It's stuff. But it is a story about who you were, who you were going to be, what you imagined, what you're afraid of that you are no longer anymore. And here's the work. The story doesn't live in the object. The kayak doesn't make you the person that you are. The dining room table doesn't make you a family. You can give them all away and lose nothing, except maybe the weight of carrying them with you. In this case, Margaret, if you're watching this, and I hope you are, this is the one I want you to spend the most time on. Not because it's strategic, but because it's actually the one that heals. It's the one that helps us reconcile the life that we had versus the life that we're going to. And what I want you to do this week, before you sell one more thing, before you list one more piece of furniture, before you call one more agent, get out a piece of paper and at the top, write one sentence. When this is done, my life looks like this. Not my kids inherit a clean slate. That's the outcome. I'm asking what your life looks like, where you live, who you see, what you do on a Tuesday morning at 10. Because every decision that you make from now until you sign the closing papers should serve that sentence. If you don't have that sentence yet, you don't have a downsizing plan. You have a yard sale going on. That is the difference. I'm Weldon Hobbs. When we're making big decisions, we start with your life goal, we optimize it for wealth, and then we focus on the real estate. Remember, good decisions, it starts with good information, and I'll see you in the next one.